forcing them to fall asleep. Wheeler, of course, remains a dick about it. "Nice going, Mati. You actually made yourself useful for a change. At least you're good for something." Why did Gaia think this asshole was the one they needed to give superpowers to? We've now seen that in fact the heart power actually has 2 useful traits, but Wheeler just refuses to stop being a dick for 5 seconds. Mati has to stay behind to keep the 2 guards unconscious, and Guy says that they'll need a distraction to get into the control room. Kwame has it covered though, and has a nice pile of rocks suddenly burst through the floor of the control room. But before anyone thinks that this plan was actually good, I should point out that this quote-unquote distraction appears right in front of the door where they're coming in. So it doesn't really distract them as much as get them to look right at you, you stupid teenagers! Sorry, this comic really isn't worth getting angry over, but there's just so much stupid leaking right out of it. Every single page has something utterly moronic happening. Bleak decides to launch the missile, forcing the kids to summon Captain Planet. They say they can do this because they're telepathically linked to Mati, which doesn't even begin to make sense because it's not like his ring is telepathically linked in too. Of course, because they had to summon Captain Planet, their rings are now powerless and the terrorists take the 4 Planeteers hostage. Captain Planet flies up to the missile and uses a tornado to force the missile up into space, which doesn't make any sense at all considering there's no air, and then lets it explode, no doubt letting toxic waste descend to the Earth for the next few years. Oh, good one, Captain Pinhead. When Captain Planet returns, he finds the kids tied up with guns to their heads. Bleak threatens him that if he tries anything, he'll kill them, though I wonder why he didn't kill at least one of them already so they can't re-summon him later. Very well, Bleak, I'll do as you say.
Smart move, Captain. I know you do the right thing. You strike me as an intelligent man, though I can't say much for your choice of hair color. I didn't know green was in this year.
Making fun of his hair color?
That ruthless son of a bitch!
So yeah, Mati is their last hope, so we can assume the Planeteers are screwed. Mati realizes he has to get away, but is confronted by another of the terrorists. However, he's quickly rescued by his pet monkey, Suchi. Okay. Yeah, remember him? Remember the pet monkey who hasn't appeared in this comic until just this very second? Bleak has Captain Planet retrieve the Planeteers' ship and exposits that he plans to launch another missile, this one at Moscow, to create an environmental disaster, an international incident, and kill off the rest of them. Seems to me it'd be easier to just shoot them now, but then again, I'm not the ruthless terrorist. After doing as Bleak commands, Captain Planet is told to return to the rings. Oh, and the kids are no longer tied up, and Bleak warns them not to use their powers.
Don't even think about using them. You're completely surrounded.
And here we see the fundamental flaw in both the show and the comic's entire concept of granting these kids the powers of the elements. We can forgive the inclusion of heart, stupid as it is. And as a commenter posted in response to my World of Warcraft video, fire shouldn't even count as an element because it's a chemical reaction, not an element of the planet itself. However, we can let that slide for the sake of dramatic license. What we cannot forgive is the complete lack of imagination around the writing, and this scene is a perfect example. Kwame, as we've seen, can summon portions of the Earth up using the power of his ring. Jokes about a small world aside, the planet is really, really big, and most of it is made of rock and dirt, the stuff that Kwame summons up. Why in the name of Gaia's lazy ass doesn't he summon friggin' mountains under all of the terrorists? Why doesn't he summon up rock hands out of the Earth to grab them and restrain them? Or let's look at another of the Planeteers, Linka. She has the power of wind. Why doesn't she bring down a force of multiple tornadoes down upon each one of the terrorists, or even miniature tornadoes right in front of their faces, and either suffocate them or knock them unconscious with the force of a friggin' storm? Hell, even Guy could redirect the water pressure of the pipes in the missile base and force it at the terrorists. In fact, considering Mati's ability to pacify them to the point of unconsciousness, the most useless person here is Wheeler, since all he has is basically a flamethrower that he has to direct, leaving him open to attack. Okay, rant over, back to the PSA for heart. Mati is about to post in his live journal about how useless he is when suddenly Gaia reminds him that heart is apparently the greatest power of all. Yeah, my vote's still for Kwame in that regard, considering he basically has the planet itself as his weapon. Heart is not a simple element, Mati.
It isn't an element at all!
It is a force, primal in its power and boundless in its possibilities. I did not choose its wielder lightly. In hindsight, though, I think I should have given more thought to handing fire to Wheeler. Mati considers his options and thinks that maybe he should call on his animal friends to help. Because he can do that, apparently. Yeah. But that would not be fair to the animals, to place their lives in jeopardy. That would make me no better than those who use animals for testing and for warfare. I will spare you all a fairly controversial rant about how utterly stupid that is. So apparently Mati is Dr. Friggin' Doolittle, since he can use his ring to talk to the animals. And of course the animals already know and are perfectly willing to help, with even the raccoon thinking, "Let's go kick some tail." Okay, you get a little bit of the rant. People outside of Disney movies and African gray parrots, no animals think like this. If they were truly this intelligent, there would be no debate about animal rights. They would be giving them all the way. Of course, this comic is an insult to intelligences the world over, so let's just move on. Alright, the terrorists tell the kids to get into the ship, since then it'll get blasted once the missile is launched. Or, you know, they'll take off and leave, or ram the ship into you guys. However, before this sinister plan can be enacted, Bleak hears a rumbling and, much to the shock and amazement of the entire group, Mati comes a-charging! And now, my furred and feathered friends, charge! Anyway, the kids resummon Captain Planet and he does what Kwame should have done earlier, which is seal up the terrorists in a wall of rock. Bleak manages to run off and Mati pursues along with the deer, which mysteriously vanishes once Mati and Bleak have a battle of wills. Mati uses his ring on Bleak, forcing him to look into the darkness of his own soul. So, what, the heart ring is Wonder Woman's lasso of truth all of a sudden? But the effort required to do so knocks both of them out. In a subplot for the comic series, Vermina Scum comes by the unconscious Mati and places a watch battery or something in his ear. When Mati awakens, he's greeted by the Planeteers, and of course Wheeler has to pipe in. "I guess you're not so useless after all." "Wheeler, I swear to God, if you do not shut your noise hole, I'm gonna shove that fire ring so far up your ass!" And just to end the cycle of stupidity, Captain Planet is there too, even though we saw 2 pages ago that he went back into the ring so Mati could use his powers. So really, it turns out that he can come out whenever the hell he wants, and he just likes to screw around with the teenage twits. And so our comic ends with less than ominous foreshadowing of Vermina Scum. But of course it wouldn't be crappy environmental nonsense without the inclusion of some PSA at the end. In this case, it's a short list of things people can do around the house to save the Earth. This includes telling parents not to buy disposable razors. Yes, because the real threat to planetary safety is inexpensive disposable razors. Not to waste paper, which is sound advice unless you've actually researched recycling and paper production and discovered that recycling paper is actually a bad thing. To wash out plastic and paper cups for reuse, which is just idiotic and misses the point of being disposable paper and plastic. And to recycle newspapers, aluminum cans, and glassware, which is actually bad, good, and rather pointless respectively for those who have researched recycling. But wait, we have to end with some last-minute idiocy from Wheeler. "Hey Cap, does this mean when I have a paper to write for school, I can recycle my old book reports?" "No, Wheeler, your grades were low enough the first time around." Oh, even Captain Planet admits that Wheeler is a dumbass. Do I even need to tell you that this comic sucks? Hey everybody, you want to save the Earth? Here, heat your home with a fire. And here's the kindling. The power is yours!
Captain Planet.